Hello, students. Audio is now back and improved, maybe? Probably not, but it's back. Okay, so here we are. We should have a grid that is working and doing some things. So let's just real quick take a look. We can do a little review. Okay, so on here, this might look a little bit different than your mobile screen, the one that we're going to be targeting first. Just to show you what I did, I just increased the height of my main container, right? So as you can see, when I increase or decrease, it will automatically increase or decrease the size of those initial column boxes. So on my main container, so just to show you in here, on my main container here, I just made it much taller, the actual container. And then because these have a flex of 1, they all take up 1 unit of space. So all these friends take up 1 unit of space within my main container. Okay, so some other things that look a little different from, I have my media queries down here still. I'm going to worry about those later. But one other thing that I have added in the code that won't be in the last video is I have just added another div to just hold my next icon. Okay, so I'm going to start there, and I'm going to head over to Illustrator. Okay, so I have a list of sketches here. I'm going to lock these. Okay, and what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to kind of demo how, in case anyone's confused, how you would just break down making some of these simple shapes. And I'm just going to use really simple boxes here, okay? And so, for instance, I'm just going to kind of block out all the shapes. And the reason that I'm using squares is because, you know, everything's essentially a square, right? And even if you are using pseudo classes, you know, you have the potential to change the shape of something with a pseudo class. And then this one here will be one long for the arms, and then I'll have 2 more here, okay? So that's going to be the basic sort of div or pseudo class or box shadow breakdown of my character. So once you decide how you're going to build this, right? Is it going to be a box shadow? Is it going to be a pseudo class, etc.? You'll just have to figure out the layering of them, right? So different things are going to be layered on top of other things. And in terms of restacking the order, that process gets like a little more complicated. So I think we'll just address restacking your full order of your pseudo classes when we get back in person. Okay, so this kind of schematic just gives me an idea of how I'm going to start to build this up. And so I think I'm going to start with, the head, and then I think I'm going to use a pseudo class to make these 2 triangles, one on top and one on the bottom of it. So I'm going to start there, see how that goes. So I don't over here. Okay, so for my icon 1, I'm going to give it a width, height, background color. Make it a blue gnome. All right, so there we go. And then I'll give it a margin of 0. Oops. Maybe I'll give it a margin of like, yeah, I'll give it a margin of 0 for now because the hat will push it down a little bit maybe. And auto. All right, cool. So that should center it. And then I'll also give it a border dash radius, and it should be at least half of this. So that'll be nice and round. Okay, cool. So we got a gnome head. Okay, so then I'm going to take icon 1, and I'm going to do my icon 1 before, and I'll set this friend up too. Icon 1 after. Okay, so I need a couple things in here. I'm going to need my content blank, and I'm going to need my position absolute. Before I go any farther, because this is position absolute, I'm going to go back here and do position relative, so that this before will be positioned absolutely, but an absolute that is relative to the positioning of this, not the whole project itself. Okay, so then we'll give this a height. Actually, we're going to give it a border over a height, so let's look that up. So let's head on over to shapes of CSS. Okay, and I'm going to first do, so we need two triangles that are going to be pretty much the same thing. So, and we need it to be a triangle facing up. So let's look at some documentation for this here. Okay, so we have our border bottom is the biggest, and then we have our border left and our border right, which are half of the border bottom, and that's actually what's transparent. So I think what I'll do to just start with is just go ahead and copy this, head on over here. Okay. So I'm going to say maybe, okay, so this is 20. So maybe we're going to have to do like 10 here just to get it to fit. All right, so we got our triangle already because we want the whole gnome to fit in here. So maybe we should do, maybe let's do like 12. And then we'll do the same thing here. So let's try our border bottom. Let's do 12 VW, and then this should be half of whatever this is. So this would be 6 VW, 6 VW. And then maybe we'll leave it red, classic gnome colors. Okay, cool. So what I want to do now is I want to move the head down a little bit, and then I'll position the triangle based on that. So instead of saying 0 at the top, I'll say like, I don't know, 10 VW, or maybe let's say 20 VW, see what that does. Okay, so that puts it about in the middle. And then because the triangle is absolutely positioned, we'll want to move it up, so we can say top, and we'll do a negative. Let's see what that gets us. All right, cool. So because it's positioned, you know, at the top, let me show you what that looks like real quick. Because it's, so remember this triangle is actually a square, okay? And this circle is actually a square. So the corners of them are both like right up here. So the corners are actually right on top of each other because this one is being positioned at the 0 and 0 of this one, which is also right here because of that relative absolute relationship. Okay, so let's go back with that. And so I'm just using that negative to kind of push it above. Okay, and then because this and the little like shirt thing are going to be the same thing, we could do a pseudo class for that, or we could let's try box shadow. Okay, and so box shadow Let's look up the documentation for box shadow here. Sorry, my internet at this hotel is very slow. Okay, so it's going to go our X offset, so horizontal, vertical offset, the blur, the speed, and then the color. So I'm going to just put that in some notes. Okay, so we'll say X, Y, blur, spread, color. Did I get that right? Blur, spread, color. Perfect. Okay. So because I want to just go down, right? So I want to take this friend and I want to go down here. Okay. So because I want to go down, what I'm going to do is I'll just drop it. So I'll say 0 on the X because I want to just go straight down. And then on the Y, this friend is 12, so I'll go down 12, PW. The blur, 0. The spread is where I can make it bigger. Let's just put 0 VW in here, so if we want to change, it'll be easy. And then we'll do, we'll give it a little flair. Pink shirt. Okay, so I think what is happening is that it's not doing the box shadow of this shape, it's doing the box shadow of the whole container. So maybe that's not quite what we want. Let's try messing with that. Oops. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that'll increase the size. Okay, so I think maybe this is not the best test technique for that. But we'll go ahead and just leave this in case we want to use it later. So let's just try our after. So I'll go ahead and just copy and paste this whole thing because I want the same shape in after. Okay. And instead of top -10, I think I probably, let's try like 20. Nope. Okay. And then let's increase our size. So I'm going to save this. Let's use our web inspector. Alright, so there's our after. Lovely. And let's try, so let's first increase this. Okay. And then I think we want to make it, we don't want it to be like totally pointing at the top. So let's see. Let's try 56 here, like we had. Let's do 6 VW here. Let's see what happens if we. Okay. So what I want is I kind of want it to be like cropped at the top, so that it looks a little more like detached from the head. So I think for now, what I'll do is I'll just move it down a little bit, and we can perfect that later. Okay, So now we're going to work on the little ball for the top, the hands, and the feet. Okay, so I think what I'll do now is, because I've sort of maxed out the potential for this before and after, I'll do another div in here. And again, I think it's best if you do as little divs as possible. And I'll do icon1, maybe parts or something like that. And for my icon1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to make some circular shapes, and that's going to be this part, this part, this part, and then the feet as well. And I'm going to attempt to do them all with that box shadow property here. So I'll just do a width of, let's say, 5 VW and a height of 5 VW, and I'll start off with a background color, and let's do maybe violet. I want this color to be a little more interesting. We'll say blue violet for that. And then we can say maybe, okay. So let's see, width, height, background color. Oops, forgot to change. Save that. Okay, so there we go. So what I'll do now is I will do the border radius. And I'll say 3 VW. Okay. And then because this is a new part, I think what I'm going to do is I might try to go back to container. No, I'll try to go back to 1 here, and I'm going to say this is going to be position relative. Let's see if that messes anything up. No, we're good there. Okay. So now if I do icon parts 1 as position absolute, it'll position absolutely from that container. So then I'll do top. I'll just start with like, and then left. All right, so I'm going to move this over, moving this friend over. Whoops, I hate when it does that. Okay, just say left. Right, and then I'll say top here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Oh, I think I only need these two. So top and left. That's for this part here. Okay, so now what I will do is, because this is just a really simple shape with a border radius, I should be able to use my box shadow. Let's copy this. Okay, and let's just see if that, okay, cool. So here we go. We got this other shape here. So I'm gonna move this shape. I'm gonna have these be the hands here, and I'm gonna have 2 more be the shoes. So I'll go ahead and position these. So maybe this one's going to be like -2 VW, and we'll drop down maybe I don't know, 15 VW to start with. Oops. Right, we're going to need a lot more. So I'm going to use, update this, save, refresh for end here. Okay, cool. So I'll use this. Okay. And maybe we want to make them the same color as the shirt. Just leave that for now. And we can have a blur. Or we can make them bigger if we want. So we'll start here, okay, with that. And then we'll come over here. Right, got this. And we'll do the same color. Okay. And then we'll do the exact same thing, so we just separate it with a comma. I'm just going to put them on separate lines just to make it a little visually easier for me to see. Alright, so this one, let's try 5 VW for that one. Okay. And to navigate like potentially obvious associations that are happening with this little character here, I'm going to go ahead and just use these as the shoes for now, and then we'll do something else with where an arm situation should be. Yeah, so let's move on. Gender's a construct. Okay, so instead of putting those where they were, I'm going to drop those down just a little bit more. Okay, and make them a little smaller, and we'll change the color. So let's make them, we'll make them a normal size, and we'll give them a little bit of blur, and let's have them be little white fuzzy shoes with the blur. Okay, so we'll put them down a little bit lower. We'll put them a little bit closer. Okay, almost there. Okay, so little fuzzy gnome shoes. And then I think what we can do is we can go ahead and we can use some pseudo classes to, or even just one pseudo class to get the arm shape here. So maybe we could try another triangle with that. Yeah, let's try that. So I'll go back and I'll grab this guy. And I'm going to say we could do before, and then we need these two things. And I'm actually going to use like almost the exact same thing. So let's just copy this whole thing. I'll use this exact same thing because the purpose here is like you wanna use as much like repeatable code as you possibly can. And then so I'll work with this still. Let's see if we can get this to a position where we want it. Okay, not quite, because I think it's positioning based on this shape here. So I'll use a web inspector for that. come up here. Let me just refresh this friend. All right, so we got my before, and we have our okay, and then I'll also maybe do a left of like -1. I think it's gonna be like a -2.5. I'm going the wrong way. 2. Okay, let's just go with -3 for now. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to make this a little more squat. And maybe drop it down a little bit. So just make it a little wider too. Okay, so then those could be my arms. And then in terms of like the advanced positioning stuff, right? Like maybe we want the shoes to go behind, and maybe we want the head to go forward. That's a little bit more complicated, and we will address that when we get into class. So if your icons look a little wonky, the colors look off, the layering looks a little off, that's okay. That's about where I want you to get. So this would be if all of your icons kind of look like this, where you have like the basic shapes in place, not everything's perfect, maybe you're thinking a little bit about the treatment of the colors and stuff like that, that would be totally fine because like I said, in class we're going to be working on like, for instance, putting some gradients on here, maybe doing some like little eye shapes, like really getting a lot of the details, but you want to get this like overall work done. So that's going to be your response to this video, is to kind of make the overall shapes and the overall characters. Don't worry about the really detailed stuff. Okay, there's going to be another icon building video coming your way, and then an animation review in just a minute. So stay tuned.